Hong-jin has finally returned with hope, and if you were expecting something clean, simple, and easy to classify, you clearly have not been paying attention. This is the filmmaker behind The Wailing, The Chaser, and The Yellow Sea. He does not really make normal genre movies. He makes stories that start in one place, mutate into something stranger, and then drag the audience through panic, absurdity, violence, paranoia, and human stupidity until the whole thing feels like a nightmare told by someone laughing in the corner. Hope is exactly that kind of movie. It is messy, huge, hilarious, exhausting, uneven, and sometimes completely breathtaking. It may be too long. It may have creature effects that do not always hold up. It may lose some momentum in the middle. But when it is moving, it moves like a runaway truck with no brakes. And some of its action filmmaking is so precise and alive that I found myself forgiving problems I would normally complain about much harder. The film takes place in the small South Korean town of Hope Harbor, a rural coastal community located close enough to the border that old warning signs about land mines and infiltrators still hang over everyday life. This is not a polished movie town. It feels worn down, isolated, suspicious, and weirdly familiar. Everyone seems to know everyone or be related to everyone, which becomes darkly funny once bodies start appearing in the streets and the local police chief recognizes them one by one. That police chief is Bum Seok, played by the great Hwang Jung-min, reuniting with Na after The Wailing. Bum Seok is not the kind of heroic monster hunter anyone would design on purpose. He is nervous, clumsy, emotional, and constantly looks like he is about to seconds away from a full physical panic response. When he is stressed, his body almost seems to betray him. But he is also the best Hope Harbor has, and that is both funny and terrifying. The trouble begins when a huge bull is found violently torn apart on an open plain outside town. Bum Seok investigates the body after it is discovered by a group of hunters led by Sung Ki, played by Zo In-sung, who also happens to be his second cousin. The hunters think a tiger may have crossed down from North Korea and started feeding near the village. That idea sounds strange, but at least it is still understandable. A tiger is something the town can imagine. What is actually coming is much worse. When Bum Seok returns to Hope Harbor, the town is already falling apart. Something massive is moving through the streets, smashing through brick walls, throwing cars, crushing bodies, and leaving destruction that looks almost Caillou-sized, even though the movie refuses to show the creature clearly at first. That restraint is one of the smartest choices in the first hour. We do not see the monster right away. We see the damage. We see the panic. We see the impossible aftermath. And because Na understands tension, the absence of the creature becomes more exciting than a full reveal could have been. The first hour is the strongest part of Hope, and honestly, it is some of the most fun I have had watching genre filmmaking in a while. It feels like a giant, expensive Korean cousin of Tremors, mixed with old science fiction monster movies, Western energy, slapstick panic, and his own cruel sense of humor. The movie knows that mass death can be horrific and absurd at the same time, and it keeps walking that dangerous line with insane confidence. A lot of that comes from the filmmaking itself. Cinematographer Hong Kyung-pyo, whose work includes Parasite, Burning, and The Wailing, shoots the chaos with a kind of elegant control that makes the ridiculous feel cinematic. Cars slide around empty streets. Bodies lie in surreal arrangements. The camera glides, whips, and turns with the action as if it is barely keeping up with the town's collapse. Even when the scene is silly, the craft is not. Then Hoyeon arrives as Officer Sung-ae, and the movie gets another burst of energy. This is a fantastic screen debut because she plays Sung-ae with a fearless, furious clarity. She is not intimidated by the idea of a monster. She is angry because too many people have died, and monster or not, that is unacceptable. That simple attitude makes her instantly memorable. In a movie filled with panic, she cuts through the noise like a weapon, but hope becomes more complicated once the creature finally revealed. The monster, performed through motion capture by Cameron Britton, was probably always going to be difficult to live up to. The movie builds so much anticipation that almost any reveal would struggle. The problem is that the creature design and effects sometimes have a weightless, old video game quality that clashes with the beautifully photographed physical world around it. When the movie is hiding the creature, it is terrifying. When it shows too much, the spell weakens. That problem becomes more noticeable in the middle section, when the story shifts more heavily into the forest and the alien mythology starts expanding. The hunters get their own stretch of the movie, more side threads appear, and the film tries to give the creatures a larger backstory. Some of it is amusing, but not all of it lands. At 160 minutes, Hope definitely feels its length here. The movie still has great individual moments, but the momentum becomes less clean because the human comedy is the real monster engine here. The aliens may be stronger, faster, and more mysterious, but the people of Hope Harbor are far more entertaining. They are cowardly, brave, dumb, loyal, angry, confused, and weirdly noble in tiny flashes. Na clearly loves watching people fail upward through disaster. His humans are ridiculous, but never empty by the final third. Hope finds its wild rhythm again. The pace accelerates, the chaos returns, and the movie builds toward a highway chase that deserves serious attention. Everything seems to fly across the screen. Cars, bodies, weapons, fear, dust, and desperate decisions all crash together. Even if the effects remain uneven, the staging and stunt work are so aggressive that the sequence becomes thrilling through sheer commitment. If this is the kind of movie that could push stunt design into awards conversations, I would not be mad about it. Hope is not as perfectly controlled as The Wailing. It is not as lean as The Chaser. It is too long, too messy, and occasionally too in love with its own detours. But it is also alive in a way many expensive genre movies are not. It has personality. It has bite. It has jokes that land like accidents. It has action scenes made by people who understand space, rhythm, and physical impact. And even when the aliens disappoint visually, the humans keep saving the movie. For me, Hope works best when it is a monster movie about people who are absolutely not ready for a monster. That is the joke, the tragedy, and the thrill. Hope Harbor is not saved by brilliant strategy. It survives through panic, luck, stubbornness, and a few people who refuse to let the disaster swallow everyone else. That may not make the film elegant, but it makes it memorable. Hope is the kind of movie that will divide people. Some will love its chaos. Some will be frustrated by its length and messy middle. Some will wish the creature effects matched the power of the live-action filmmaking. But I cannot call it boring, and in modern genre cinema, that already counts for a lot. Hong-jin came back with a movie that swings too hard, runs too long, and still delivers images and action beats I will remember. So I want to know where you stand. Are you excited for his return, or does this sound like too much monster madness for one movie? Either way, Hope proves one thing clearly. Even when Hong-jin misses, he misses loudly, violently, and in a way that is impossible to ignore.